What is an aquarium sump? At the basic point, an aquarium sump is just a ginormous filter. In this video, we're going to explain it as simple as we possibly can. 9 times out of 10, an aquarium sump is a glass aquarium that sits underneath a larger aquarium, just like this one was. They can be as complex or as simple as you possibly want. This one here was set up as a marine tank sump, so it's got lots of extra chambers and it's fairly complex. And this one here is running our shop sales system, and it is fairly simple. Water comes in, gets filtered, water goes out. As you've seen there, a sump does not necessarily need to be a glass aquarium. It can be anything as long as it holds water. Tote containers work fine. You can use a chili bin if you had that hanging around. Anything to hold water is all you need to make a sump. So how does a sump work? Again, nice and basic, nice and easy to understand. A sump is almost essentially like a canister filter. Canister filters draw water in through them, leaves the aquarium, goes into the canister itself where all your filter media is, then it pushes itself back out through the outlet, rinses and repeats. A sump works on exactly the same principle. However, it's a little bit of a case of the chicken and the egg. Does the water pump push the water first, or does the overflow bring it in? But we'll start with the pump. The pump pumps water from your sump back into your aquarium. As your aquarium begins to fill up with the water coming through, it will then overflow through there, down into your pipes, and into your sump. From here you'll have your mechanical filtration and your biological filtration, like your noodles and whatnot. Generally speaking, you'll put your heater in there. Water flows through here, up and under, through the weirs, and back into the pump. Rinse and repeat. There is almost no limitation on what size aquarium you can put a sump on, whether you want to put a sump on a 5-litre aquarium or a 5 million litre aquarium. It's achievable both ways. There's also no limitations on what size sump you can use, whether you want to use a 2-litre aquarium or a 5,000 litre aquarium as a sump. They will both work. There is some technical things like pipe diameter, the amount of head flow or head height that your pump can produce, and all that sort of stuff that plays into it. But at the root of it, anything can be a sump, and you can put a sump on any aquarium. 3 of the aquariums that I have an overflow system similar to this, where the water will trickle over and it goes in to the sump. This one does the same, water will trickle over. It's just got 3 outlets. One is a safety, just in case something goes wrong, which makes also very logical sense. This one here has 2, but it's the same principle. The water will trickle over, filling up this chamber, allowing the pipes to take the water underneath the aquarium into the sump. This aquarium that I clearly have not finished yet, as opposed to having the pipe works falling down, I was going to hang an overflow box from the side of it, on the edge of the aquarium, that brings the water out of the aquarium and down that way. Some holes were drilled in the end part of the aquarium and onto the overflow box for that to happen. Still exactly the same principle as what the other ones are. So what are the advantages or disadvantages of having a sump? Well, there's a foot in each camp when it comes to advantages and disadvantages, but we'll run through some of them now. An advantage of a sump is that you can set it up in the way that you want it. You can use things like filter socks or filter floss to keep your mechanical. You can load it up with hundreds of kilos of biological media if you've got a big enough one. You can use whatever biological media you want there, because you can make the space fit how you want to make the space fit. Generally, you can put your hardware, like your heaters, in there. You can make it work with UV filters quite nicely, and you can pick what size return you want to go with it. Unlike canister filters, where you're basically stuck with having a heater in the aquarium with a little bit of an eyesore, and you have the all your media or your hardware coming into it, you can make it nice and clean and see very little of anything except for your fish. So there's absolutely an advantage there. You can make your sump as big or as small as you choose. Having a sump allows extra water volume, which in turn means more stable water conditions. Disadvantages of them is that, generally speaking, you have to do it yourself. If you're not a DIYer, that could be troublesome. You've got to make sure you get your pipes all the right sizing, correlating to your pump, to the return pipe, so you don't have a gap, basically, either your pipe being too small or pipe being too big so the water doesn't flow correctly. They can be a little bit noisy if you don't set them up correctly. This one here can be quite noisy. The bean animal over there should be quite quiet. You can tinker around with the flow by using controllers on the outlets as well. But there is definitely advantages both ways. There is another point where the water is leaving the aquarium, which is potentially another point for water to spill onto the floor. You are got another glass box under your aquarium, they can leak. There is another disadvantage. I've also found that if you don't do enough maintenance on your sump, sometimes you can get enough waste to begin overflowing as well, but that comes down to user error. So sumps do have their advantages and disadvantages. Personally, I don't think you need to worry about a sump until you get around over the 500 litre aquarium mark. When you're getting over the 500 litre mark, I think that's when sumps are a very handy piece of equipment. So there we go, on a super basic level, what a sump is and how it works. Essentially, it's a big giant canister filter. Water goes in, gets filtered, water gets pumped out, back into your aquarium, job done. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a like, give us a follow, subscribe, all the other stuff that I just can't be bothered talking about. Have a good one, team. Happy fish keeping. Catch you later.